a live Bedikas Chametz. Rick Halpern is here. Oh, great to see you, Rick. Love to catch up with you. Tonight, I'm going to explain a little bit what Bedikas Chametz is. Good to see you, Dan. We're going to explain what the search for the leaven is. What is this Jewish custom that we look for the leaven? The leaven. What's the leaven? The leaven is what's called chametz. Chametz is something that all year long is not bad. It's not bad. It's actually good. And somehow on Passover, it can't be had. It can't be eaten. It can't be experienced. You got to remove all of the chametz, the leaven. Let me explain what this is. So let's look at this. We're about to come to the holiday of Pesach. And the food we're going to eat is matzah. Now, why do we eat matzah? Matzah is called the lechem oni, the bread of affliction. Now, that's really hard to understand. Sabrina, I'm so happy to see you. Wow, good to see you. Getting ready. Rhonda, good to see you also. Getting ready for the search of the chametz. Let me explain what chametz is. What is leaven? What is matzah and what is bread? Why do we have this problem? Ooh, Reuven, Gaskin, great to see you. Beautiful. So what is the problem with leaven, with bread during Pesach? What's the problem with bread? Why is matzah good and bread is not? Let's look at this. Now, the way that matzah is made is it's no nonsense. Flour, just water, and wheat, that's it. Bread has to add another factor, a leavening agent. Good to meet you, Ingrid. Nice to meet you. Where are you coming from, Ingrid? What country are you coming from there? Curious if you could send me what country you're from, Ingrid. Love to know. So now we have matzah, which is what we eat on Passover. Now, the text says the reason why you eat matzah and not bread is because when the Jews left Egypt, they had to leave quickly. Okay, we didn't have time to let the bread to rise. We were in Egypt in slavery, and this concept of slavery is well misunderstood in the world. William, good to see you. People do not understand what slavery is. I'm telling you, we don't know what slavery is at all. We think of slavery as the aspect of bad torture. Ooh, from upstate New York. Wow. Okay. I went to school in Albany. I know it well. Okay, good. So what happens like this, we think of slavery as the aspect of beatings and terrible, and that's, very often true. It was certainly true in the Jewish experience in Egypt, that they were beaten. It's true in most slave situations, but that's torture. That's not the problem of being a slave. Because you could be a slave today and be a free person. A slave is someone that does not have their own mind to dictate to them how to live their lives. Okay? How many of us are slaves? Slaves to our boss, slaves to our habits, slaves to our patterns, slaves to our desires, slaves to whatever we're slaves to. And tonight, we are getting into the process of getting out of slavery. It's literally what it is. We were in Egypt. Egypt, the word Mitzrayim is the word Meitzar. Meitzar is a boundary and a limitation. You were squashed. You were crushed in this pain of narrowness, of narrow-mindedness, of inexpression. That was what was happening when we were in Egypt. Mitzrayim, Meitzar Yam. The boundaries of the sea that surround us. Or, Kabbalistically, the word Yud Mem is the numerical value of 50. There are 50 gates of wisdom in the world. And we were on the boundary of the 50. We were like squashed. And most people feel that way during the winter. Right, Don? During the winter, people are cold. They feel stuck in Mitzrayim, in a boundary. Comes along the spring, you can be free. That's what Pesach is. Pesach is the holiday where a person can free themselves. can break the bonds of the habits, the constrictions, the guilt, whatever the thing holding you back is. You can break out of it. That's what Pesach is. Okay? Now, tonight is the search for the chametz. Okay? Tonight is the search. We're searching for the bread. Let me explain why. One of the reasons why bread is bad, and I'll explain further why it's going to be good. So one like this. When a person goes and takes flour and water, puts them together, he gets this flat bread called matzah. Kind of hard, crunchy. Now when you add leaven, it fluffs up. Or if you wait long enough, it'll expand. That's called the ego. That is called, when a person expands into bread, that is a place where you expand who you are. And it's not a bad thing. It's actually a great thing. It's so great that we're in a process now where, although we can't eat bread, there will be a culmination of this experience in 50 days on the holiday of Shavuot, when we get the Torah at Mount Sinai. And every year it was recreated. In the time of the temple, they would bring an offering that was centered around bread, not matzah. Okay? Because matzah, unleavened bread, was the experience of starting out with no ego. No ego. You got to do what you got to do. You got to nullify your own mind, and you got to start out fresh, and then you rebuild yourself. At the end of the experience, you can express your own unique quality. Okay, let me explain this in a little different way today, and we'll come back to it. So, matzah is called the bread of affliction. Okay, matzah is lechem oni. Those who eat matzah too much know what I'm talking about. Right, Don? Yeah. So matzah, it's a bread of affliction. Now the question is, though, matzah was commanded based on our redemption. What happened was, when we were in Egypt, we didn't have time for the matzah to rise, for the flour and the dough to rise. We had to leave. So matzah should be the bread of redemption, not of affliction. Which one is it? Is matzah the bread of redemption or the bread of affliction? The text calls it bread of affliction. But the story of what happens is bread of freedom. So which one is it? There's different explanations to this. One explanation, a simple explanation, is that, there's two parts to it. Matzah, they fed us when we were slaves. They made us eat matzah because it sits in your stomach as slaves. And one other part about it is that when we left to be free, so we left Egypt, and that was the matzah of freedom. Okay, very nice. I believe that's true. David, good to see you. Good to see you, David. So I believe that makes sense. But I want to show you with connection why matzah is freedom and slavery together. David, you're going to like this one. Listen to this. And matzah makes you fat. But I want to share with you something. After college, I went traveling in Europe for a year. And there was a moment when I was 21. There was a moment where I had a backpack. And I had to gather all my things together in the backpack. There was a point where I got so good at it. I can get everything that I had in my backpack in like 5 minutes. And I remember it was an amazing feeling. I was totally not tied down to anything, right? I could just pack it up in a second and go. So sometimes when you need something, you need your caviar, you need your fancy food, you need what you need. You have a lot of needs. You're not a very free person. A person who doesn't need so much from others, he has from inside of himself what he needs, he's actually much more free. Matzah is affliction and freedom at the same time. Why? Because matzah, when I take, like I make a cake. cake, flour and water, sugar, eggs, do all these things, make it nice and big and fluffy. So that's how you make a cake. It needs a lot of things. Flour, water, and all those things that make it good, tastes good. Now, even bread needs flour and water, and then it needs to rise. The leavening agent needs to rise, become fluffy. Matzah needs the least. Flour and water. That's all it needs. That's all it needs, flour and water. And that is because on this holiday, you are literally free. You're free. You don't need anything. How could that be? What do you think? David, what do you think? How could matzah represent us being free? Because we need so little. Shouldn't we need a lot? Should I need more and more and more and more? What do you guys think? Dan, are you out there? What do you think, Dan? You need a lot. Does that make you free? You need a little, it makes you free. What do you guys think? So you do understand is when you need a little, that means that it's self-generated. The more I rely on other people for my happiness, the less happy I am because you control my happiness. Right? The more that I can create my experience, right? You? I haven't seen you in a while. You, good to see you. The more I can create my own experience and I could be happy, self-generated, then obviously I'm free. Yes, David, it is a statement these days. These days, it's a very external world. That we're still Jews? Explain, David. Yes, I think it's a very important statement because as David is pointing out, this is the night before we left Egypt and we still remember, which means that this is a seminal moment in the world's consciousness. It's a seminal moment, certainly for Jews, and it's a seminal moment for the entire world because it's a moment where a person becomes free. It's a moment where it says God took a nation from a nation. When a baby is in a mother's womb, you don't know it's alive. You do know, you do the test, and that's why it's very serious to obviously to not to relate to the living being that's inside the mother. But what happens is that the mother gets a sense, well, this is part of me. And what happened was that God pulled a nation out from a nation. The Jewish people were not at that point formulated. They were like in the mother's womb. They were stuck in this environment, this culture called Egypt. And I saw a great Hasidic explanation. It says no one escaped, no slave ever escaped from Egypt. I saw an amazing Hasidic tradition. It says, you know why? Because nobody wanted to. Slaves didn't escape because even though they were slaves, this was the place. This was the culture. It was Egypt, man. It was the most fantastic in culture and blah, blah, blah. And a slave stayed a slave because he'd rather be a slave in Egypt than a free man someplace else. It's crazy. Freedom is a very, very powerful and important thing. And tonight begins the process of freedom. And that's why in a few moments what we're going to do is we are going to search the house for leaven, for things that have already rose, because it will be forbidden for Jews to have leaven, to have bread. For another 7 to 8 days, we do 8 days in America, but 7 days, 8 days outside of Israel, that we can't have this expansion of ego in our lives. We need to go on a search and destroy mission. Don, you said something good. Does the matzah have any connection to the plague of killing the firstborn? Well, yes, it does. Yes, it does. A very interesting question, Don. Why? Because the matzah is the beginning of the redemption and the end of the redemption. The firstborn is also the end of the redemption. In the end, what happens is that the plague of the firstborn, as Don is asking, is that let me explain what it is. Let me explain what the plague of the firstborn is, because nobody understands what, oh, God killed their firstborn. Well, you know what? God could have done whatever he wants to do. Why is it a big deal? God killed their firstborn, kill their secondborn, kill their thirdborn. Why is killing the firstborn, Don? Don, I'm asking you the question. Why is killing the firstborn even such a great big deal? Why is it a big deal? You think God couldn't kill everyone? He couldn't kill the secondborn, the thirdborn? Why is the firstborn? Why is that such a great? Oh, the plague of the firstborn. What does that mean? So let me explain what this means. What this means is the Egyptians had something they relied on that they felt was their power. And that's what they sold themselves to. Their firstborn was the idea of their power, my power base. That's why their firstborn were their priests and their leaders and this and that. Because the reality is people have areas they think is their power base, right? You could think technology is going to solve my problems. You could think money is going to solve your problems. That means those are your power bases. And sometimes when you sell yourself to a power base that's not the true power base, at a certain point it falls apart. Because if your power is because you have money, at a certain point you realize that that's not very powerful, right? When a person dies, money doesn't do them any good. So that was their power base, was their firstborn. Their destruction of their firstborn means that we became connected to the firstborn source. Let me explain. Ken Davis, I'm not sure you are Ken Davis, but you sound like a very wonderful person. I think I know someone that name. If you are in Atlanta, I'll tell you, and I think he's a medical student, I think, with that name. I'll tell you this one idea. It's very fascinating. Technology is like a gun, yeah. So let me explain this one idea. The name Pharaoh, Paro, the Kabbalists tell us is the letters Ha'oref. Ha'oref is the nape of the neck. Flip the letters around of Pharaoh, it spells the word Ha'oref, which means the nape of the neck. That's where the primitive brain is. Pharaoh does not go up to the source. He does not want to know who created the world. He doesn't care that God created the world. He stops Paro at the nape of the neck, what's called a primitive brain, where your spinal column begins and the command comes to what you should do. Pharaoh wanted his power base. That's what he cared about. And therefore, the plague of the firstborn is realizing what is your real power base. It's connecting to the infinite. And so the Jews become sanctified in the night of the plague of the firstborn, because what happens is that when God reveals the beginning, the first, they say, oh, we want to connect to that. Does that make sense? Mitchell Schwartz, I haven't seen you in ages. Give us a call, Mitchell. We have actually a very cool guy's house now starting. We should talk about, see where we ended up. But anyway, that's the power of what Don's question. Let's get back to our story. So in a few moments, he asked my feeling what time it is, but in a few moments we're going to search for chametz. We're searching for leaven. We're searching for the puffing up of your ego, where the point is you can't go and connect to the source. You see, as I said to you before, how much can you understand? You know how much? Only to the degree that you're willing to understand. When you think you know the answer, you can't learn from anybody. Passover is about is unleavened bread. It has no ego. It doesn't puff up. It means we're starting from the beginning. We're willing to receive everything. To start in that beginning, you got to get rid of anything that fills you up with yourself. That's the search for the leaven. Okay? Any questions? Oh, Howie, good to see you. I want to see some of your... Howie's an amazing magician. Those who don't know Howie, it's worthwhile to meet Howie. He's an amazing guy and he's an amazing musician. Let me ask my family when we're ready to start. Guys, how far are we from searching for the leaven, for the chametz?
We are ready.
What time is it? Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to go and to search for chametz. Okay, guys, those who want to watch a little bit, we're going to search for chametz. We got ready to go?
Yeah, I think
All right.
so. I think let me just make sure everything's hidden.
All right, we're getting the lights off here. Just if you, this is going to be a live experience about a searching for chametz. Now, let me explain again how this works. Okay, this is Yaakov here.
How many people are watching?
10,000.
9 people.
No, you don't understand.
Typo. It goes so fast. It doesn't really have
No, it goes to send to everyone afterwards. They see it.
It's
Okay.
9,000.
Yeah. 853, William. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is Yaakov.
William. How you doing, guys?
He's a very
You're
happy
about to prepare
person.
for the amazing mitzvah of b'dikas chametz. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Make sure. Clarify with the rabbi.
That was Yaakov. Okay, good. So now we close the lights. Guys, we ready for B'dikas Chametz? We close the lights around the house and we begin with a candle. Okay, Chevra, we have the lights, we have the candles, and now I explain again. Here's what happens. Here is what happens. What happens is that we have to get, this is, Izzy, welcome Izzy. This is Izzy. He's my new son-in-law. I love him. Okay, so what happens is like this. We're going to search for the chametz. Yoshua! Where's the dude? Okay. Oh, wake him up. Chametz. So now what happens like this. Crackers, not bread? I guess it's okay.
Because we can't find the bread.
Okay. This is brachi. This is brachi. That's brachi. She's very shy. Okay. So now, what happens is the custom we take 10 pieces of chametz and we put them around the house. Brachi has informed us, and that's her, that it cannot be bread tonight. It's only crackers because they ate all the bread.
We're so thin.
So you know what's really cool about this? Watch, Brachi is so much shy, and she doesn't realize that we have the technology. I can just switch those to her. There she is, Brachi. You're online. Say hello, everybody. There she is. She's okay. Very good. Now, all right. Do we have the lights, candles, cabinet? Okay. So now let me explain how this works. So now we're going to go and search for chametz. Remember, here's the custom. The custom is you put into 10 different spots. And we'll make the blessing that it's not for no reason because we know we're going to find something. So kids are hiding it. I don't know where they're hiding it. The kids are hiding it. I'm going to try to look for it. But this takes a while. We're not going to stand the whole time for this because we do our search for chametz over many hours. We're going to be kind of here for a while searching. We're not going to hold you the whole time. But I'm going to explain to you how it works. Again, so Izzy, here's the lumdus. The idea is like this. The chametz, as we said, is what puffs you up and creates your ego. Now is the moment we get rid of our whole ego. We're starting the whole power of Pesach. We get rid of our biases, and then we can be able to receive. So, do we have this stuff, guys? You ready to do it?
Yeah, we're good.
Candles? Okay.
They're just making the candles now.
They're making the candles. We have actually professional candle makers.
Very
That's what's happening. Okay. Now, Izzy, you want to say something to people? Yeah, Izzy going to give you a chiddush about b'dikas chametz and maybe beer chametz too. Here, Izzy says something.
So we got to get rid of all the chametz within. The chametz within is all that part of you which just is impure. It's the part that tries to drag you into other things except for your goal, which is essentially just the divine revelation of Hashem in this world. And anything that stops that is the chametz. And we gotta find all the chametz within us and try to, tonight is when we find it. We check, we look for the chametz with a candle. The candle is resembles that little spark of light that we all have, that it's easy to look with that, to search because if you have a huge fire, then all the little things you can't really see into all the cracks. But with a candle you can. So you got to look tonight, search for those little chametz inside of you, and then tomorrow we're gonna burn the chametz. We're gonna get rid of all of it, and make sure to have that last 6-pack of beer before that too.
I call it beer comments.
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. Hold on a second, I'm going to find the place here. All right. Okay, just want to turn that to me over here. We're going to get the bracha. Is Yeshua here?
I woke him up. No, I know where he is.
Is he coming down? Am I waiting or no?
I
Saying you want to. Shua, we're doing Badika now.
Okay.
Shua. Okay.
Light the light behind you there, Ozzy. Okay.
How do you flip this?
See that circle part? A circle? Yeah, that's it. That's it. Hit that.
My phone is not getting my fingers.
You got it? Okay, you ready?
can't see
We got it?
I can't see you. Should I tell him what?
No, you can see.
Good.
Looks cool.
Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher gesham mistav tzivanu al biur chametz. Huh?
It's not that obvious. I didn't hide it that obviously. You have to look well. There's one here, but
Will you give me a clue? Uh-huh.
there's one in this room,
There's one in this room.
but it's well hidden. See if you can find it.
Okay.
Abba's way off.
Getting warmer.
Oh, you're getting warmer. You're getting warmer. You can do this. A little higher, Abba. You're getting so warm.
Boiling.
Okay, lukewarm. Okay. Oh, no, you left it. Colder, colder. Warmer.
What do you have plastic bags?
Jewish laws, you're allowed to put the lights on because we can't see in the dark these days. Okay.
In the old days, there used to be able to.
Where, oh where,
Let me
Rafi?
check.
Rabbi, why'd you make it so hard?
Because I thought you guys could find it.
I looked there.
Okay. Down one. That's it.
Hey,
Okay. We got Adama Vishamayim. Okay, now we're going to break up into different rooms.
More obvious
Okay, guys.
hiding places.
All right. So now, here's what we're doing, guys. So here's what what happens now. So the search for Levin continues. We're going to search now. We're not going to take you through the whole event, but for the next few hours, we will be here live, searching for our chametz, as Izzy said before, getting rid of the chametz, searching out, search and destroy, because we're preparing for Pesach. Once we get ourselves free from all of that kind of noise of like the chametz and the ego, at that point we're able to receive Pesach. Pesach now means that we're not tied down, we're not bound. All the patterns, the Mitzrayim, the Meitzar Yam, as we said, the boundaries that constricted us in the patterns and habits of the year can be freed. That's what we're doing right now.
Somebody
That's
asked
the
a
question. That was a good
Well,
question.
was a
Very
question.
good question.
Yes,
Is
please.
whiskey kosher for Passover?
No.
But
Whiskey
we
is,
wish.
whiskey is not kosher. However, you can possibly find some kinds of whiskey that are, but you have to get special hechsher. There's something called Shlivovitz.
Whoa.
Yes. Shlivovitz is plum whiskey that was people used to drink when I was a kid. I don't know if it's good.
They still do.
They still do.
It's not good.
It's not good. Maybe you find it's been a kosher vodka, but it's not because usually it's made from grain.
Potato vodka.
You find potato vodka, but it has to have a special kosher hechsher. You can look on the OU website, the CRC website. Okay, Robinson, you want to say good Pesach, everybody?
Chag Sameach. Everybody should have a beautiful Passover, Pesach. And this is our holiday of celebrating our freedom. And every year we go through the story of the Haggadah, that we're telling everybody about how we were slaves and how God saved us from slavery and took us out of our Mitzrayim, out of our slavery. And now we're going to want to tell our descendants about that every year so it doesn't get forgotten. And don't you want, you want your kids and your ancestors, everybody should know your family's history. So this is a way that the Jews are preserving our history over all of these years. It's in this holiday right now is Passover, where we're telling our kids, and the kids are telling their kids and their kids and their kids about our history, about our people, and about the miracles that God did for us to bring us out of slavery and into freedom to get to Mount Sinai and receive the Torah. Right. So we really became a people of Am Yisrael in this time. This is our history of our people, and this is a beautiful thing to be telling over to our families over and over again every year.
Passing it over, right, Robertson?
That's right.
Very good. Okay, guys, we will see you later. We're now going to divide the rooms. If you want to come to our house and check, we can find a place for you to check for the comments with us, but we're going to be gone for the next few hours checking for comments, and we will see you hopefully next week during Pesach to explain some of the depths of Pesach.
Bye. Chag Sameach. Happy Passover.